We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Welcome into Tailgate. Austin Gayle here and Mike Renner in sunny Cincinnati for one last time on Tailgate.
And it might be the actual sunniest Cincinnati day.
It's so
that
sunny.
We've recorded. It is like 90 degrees. I was sweating just getting out of my car and walking into the building.
Jeez.
It's a nice one. But I'm also sweating because I drank like 12 Miller Lights on a rooftop in Chicago yesterday. So
on the Catch and Early Buzz, I still can't tell anybody where I'm going. It's still being discussed. I told you.
Can I tell people?
No, you can't tell people. It's still being discussed. The president has to look it over. It's a lot. It's a big thing. The NFL has to look it over. A lot of people. It has to go through a lot of different eyeballs and earballs and those types of things. Do you have an update? A lot of people were asking me, it's like, what's Mike going to do? Is Mike going to get another podcast? Do you have any ideas? Where's your head?
I don't know. Whatever they tell me. No, we got. There's going to be something in the works. I'll have a podcast. I will just wait. Just hold your horses. I'm actually what I'm trying to do is hold off on actually having to work as long as possible. So I'm going to announce it at the latest and release it at the latest possible date.
I love it.
So that I don't have to work.
I love it. Any highlights from your trip to Chicago?
Went to the Brewers game yesterday. This was on the Cubs, the Wrigley rooftops. Very cool experience if you've never done such a thing. Walked like 20 miles one day. Just walked around the entire city. Trying to think of anything else I did that was cool. That was about it. It was a good time.
How are your brothers?
Brothers great. Nephews are great. Found out my brother's having a niece now, a girl. Make a second niece for your boy. I think I'm just going to be the cool uncle. I've resided to that. No kids for your boy.
Really?
Yeah. Just not going to be that guy.
That's a big highlight from Chicago.
I don't know. I flip-flop all the time. So
that's incredible.
We're not going to hold myself to that.
While you were gone, I held down the fort, threw a little bit of a party at the pool. And
you shouldn't have. I shouldn't have allowed that. You guys can't have fun without me. I hate when that happens.
Dude, it was a lot of fun too. It was a cinematic experience. George Chahuri, Ben Lindsay, David Sofaro, Anthony Trash, had a bunch of PFF people.
And my
come
goddamn out. Fucking, I said that was way aggressive. But George never came to the pool in the 6 years I've been here, or with pool access, pool adjacent, and George never.
Me and George were on the same team. It was 7v7, first to 7 flip cup.
Okay.
We came back from 4-1. It was incredible.
That's got to feel good.
It felt good. It felt good. The beer games, the drinking.
Wait, best
was
of 7?
elite.
You came back from 4-1?
No. It was first to 7.
Oh, first to 7. There you go.
First to 7, came back from 4-1. It was just unparalleled energy on the on the pool day. Sunday was a write-off, but you love to see it. Let's get to these fun to reads. There's a handful over the weekend, and then we'll get into some stories, some speak pipes, some final sayings here and there.
We'll talk a little bit about football this time.
A little bit.
Just a touch.
This is from Lance the Spoken. I don't know who the hell this is. He's the founder of The Spoken, weekly host of The Spoken Pod. He tweeted, I just thought I'd remind everyone that opposed to Orlando Brown Jr., reportedly wanted to be the highest paid left tackle in the NFL.
I want to redo that one.
What the hell just happened?
Just thought I'd remind everyone that's opposed to Orlando Brown Jr. reportedly wanting to be the highest paid left tackle in the NFL. That in his first season in the Andy Reid offense, he outplayed Trent Williams, who is widely considered as the best LT in the league. He thinks this guy thinks Orlando Brown outplayed Trent Williams last year.
That's rough. Is he a Chiefs fan?
I mean, yes, I believe so.
I
would hope so. Oh, he's either Chiefs fan or Orlando Brown's agent. I'm not sure which one.
True. Could be both. That one's rough. 188 quote tweets. I was ratioed into oblivion. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. That's just not a good tweet. You don't want to send that stuff out. Looks bad. This was from Chris Sims. He's been on the Fun to Reads a handful of times. So Lamar Jackson. So originally Chris Sims sends out someone sends out a video of Chris Sims saying Brady wouldn't be missing OTAs in year 4 of his career. Brady didn't miss an OTA until he played in 4 Super Bowls, commenting on Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson actually quote tweeted this and said, "Lamar wants to be Lamar, Chris. This part of OTAs is voluntary, my guy. I will be there, just not on your watch." It's probably other QBs not attending voluntary OTAs either, but since it's Lamar, it's a huge deal. Find something else to talk about. Chris responded, "It's all good, man. That's all good, my man. You be you. I'm rooting for you. Yes, I would like to see you at OTAs, but you got to do what's best for you, not singling you out. We have discussed all QBs who have not attended OTAs. You are Lamar freaking Jackson. Of course we are going to talk about you."
You can't – this is why you can't engage. Like, this happens. You're Chris Sims or I guess Chris Sims can engage. You can do whatever the hell he wants. But me, when, like, like a take of mine gets taken by a player, I just don't – I'm never going to respond.
No.
I am never going to say anything to you. One, because I really could give that much of a shit, but also, like, you can't look good. Chris Sims immediately backs down into a corner after Lamar Jackson comes at him. It's just like, either stand by it and don't engage, or whatever you're going to do, though, do not do this. That's a tough look.
I also don't think Tom Brady won a league MVP into year 4 of his career. Like, I don't understand the comparison. Wholesale. Like, Lamar Jackson wants a new contract, right? And even then, these OTAs are voluntary. I just don't understand why you're making it that comparison at all. Anyway, this next one also involves player engagement, which was insane. Great. I think Quinn has the video pulled up. He'll play it for us.
Hard on you. Zero scared. Because, look, my dad was in the industry. He put me up on game when I was very young. Because, honestly, if you touched me, if you pushed me, dude, I could have retired today. That's what went through my mind. I'm like, oh, damn, I'm about to retire. I'm about to be out of the game. I'm about to be a multi-millionaire thanks to Javon Kinlaw. But no, I got to keep working. Oh, well.
So I didn't know who this guy was before all of this went down. And then he was kind of viral over the weekend.
Yeah.
It sounded like, for more background on that guy has consistently criticized, Grant Cohn has consistently, who was like a 49ers reporter for, I think, Fan Nation. Has consistently criticized Javon Kinlaw, right or wrong. Kinlaw was not happy about it, approached him, it sounds like very aggressively at a practice or an OTAs or whatever, and then, Grant Cohn commented on it more, and then you even went beyond that. Javon Kinlaw went on his IG live thing and was like calling him out and all this stuff. I don't know if you saw that. Like, it was insane. It was this whole Javon Kinlaw versus Grant Cohn thing where in all, both of these guys came out looking really, really
awful.
Awful.
Like,
awful.
They look like
Javon Kinlaw looks bad because he's overreacting to some guy who writes for Fan Nation.
Kinlaw looks thin-skinned as hell.
So thin-skinned.
Getting upset that a blogger, a guy with a YouTube channel, is criticizing you is never a good look.
No.
Never. No one ever comes out of that being like, Javon Kinlaw has a point. This blogger, it's like, no, dude, like, you play it backing up on the football field, and then no one will talk about it. So, like, Kinlaw looks awful and did not sound very articulate in his way of degrading Grant Cohn in the clip that we're not going to show because it's pretty expletive laden. And then Cohn looks like just a bitch, dude. Like a little bitch. This guy coming at an NFL player purely for the engagement aspect of it. Truly,
I'm literally calling it out in these videos too. Like that video, and there was others as well. It's like I'm glad he flicked my hat off. I can't wait to see how many views this video gets. It's like you're being kind of disgusting. Like, this was not what media and journalism was for. This is not why they let you in the 49ers building, right? They don't let you in the 49ers building so that you're having you're not antagonizing players, because I don't think he was antagonizing anyone. He was just offering analysis critically, and a lot of people do that, right? And I think Javon Kinlaw reacted to that poorly, and then I just hated how I think it was antagonizing after Kinlaw went after him.
No one looks good coming out.
No one looks good coming to that.
It's pretty gross.
All right, the infamous now. John Ross story?
John Ross story? Should we tell it?
We have to tell it. And I think we have to tell it and also caveat with it's gotten hyped up to the point where it's not that. Alleged. It's also an allegation, and it's also not that.
Unconfirmed. It's not that great. But it's one of those stories where it's like, oh, why did John Ross, this uber talented freak show wide receiver that he was billed as, why did he just not even see the field? Why couldn't this guy even play? And it's because you hear stories like this and you're like, oh, maybe that's why. The story
is bad decision making. I mean, bad decision making early in his career.
Does not have it together decision making wise. Is a good takeaway from the story. So this girl who's a friend of actually, I met her through Mitch Kaiser. Should I even say this? Is that going to be?
I don't know.
Whatever. We met her through Mitch. This girl I know, we're having drinks at dinner, I believe. We were just having out at Yard House here. And she's like, one time, went out, met John Ross at a bar. And this is during, I believe, like his rookie season, during the week of like practice of that fall. Met her at a bar, goes home with him, wakes up the next morning. John Ross
Is late for practice.
Says, I'm late for practice. Can you watch my baby that she hadn't known about because he hadn't done anything to take care of this baby the whole time that she's there? But there's a baby in the house with John Ross after he had gone out the night before, has practice the next day, and she's in this house taking care of his baby while he goes to practice.
That's insane.
That's
I think the crux of it is letting a stranger watch your baby is crazy. Like, that's crazy.
Well,
That's
now, like, going out the day before practice is the least crazy thing about that story.
fair.
I like the fact, it's just
Allegedly.
why a guy.
Allegedly.
That's a alleged story.
The infamous John Ross story.
That's why
There it
he
is.
almost got switched to DB.
That's why I almost just switched DB.
All right. For the rest of this, we wanted to talk more about stories at PFF, the startup stories, all that kind of stuff. I was going to open with my move from San Diego to Cincinnati for PFF.
Yeah. Should we start about how we got at PFF in the first place again?
Or should we do the voicemails?
Okay, let's do the voicemails.
Let's do the
Then we'll get
voicemails.
into-
How many do we have?
We got two. First one, this is from Austin's #1 fan.
Hey, what's up, Austin and Mike? This is Jack, your local Pitt fan here. Just wanted to give a big shout out to Austin, man. Congratulations on everything. Big fan of you guys since the 2-for-1 days and pre-COVID era. I was listening in around 2019, 2020. That's when I first started tuning into the podcast and been a loyal listener ever since. You guys you shouldn't say, you guys never fail to make my day. Always love listening to the podcast. And I just wanted to, congratulate Austin on basically everything that he's going to do and what he's done so far. You leaving Tailgate stings more than Jordan Addison leaving Pitt for USC for me. So I hope everything's well. Hope you guys are doing well. And I hope this doesn't, kind of spend the end of the you two working together. But regardless, you guys have made a great impact on my life and have helped me actually with a couple of opportunities I've gotten working with a couple of different people in the industry. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
That is awesome.
Is he getting a little choked up there?
He was getting a little choked up.
Also,
And
no congratulations to me. I'm still working here.
You still
I still do
suck.
stuff. Come on.
I will say something I have been super appreciative of is how many people specifically have reached out to me since I announced that I was leaving PFF about Tailgate. And I know Tailgate's one of the bigger podcasts here at PFF, and it's been something that's grown insanely fast, especially when we went over the Tailgate tour and all that stuff and made the brand transition. But the amount of people that have left me like paragraph-long IG DMs or Twitter DMs saying just like how much they appreciated this podcast and how much they appreciate me on it. It was really, really cool to see. Because I thought a lot of people would be more focused on where am I going next? Can't wait to follow your work. So many people are gutted that we're breaking up the band here. And he mentioned at the back end there, hopefully this is not the end where me and you work together. Hopefully our paths do cross again because it's been a lot of fun. And I really because I do so much here at PFF. Like no one even knows like what I do here at PFF. I'm director of content. I manage the editorial process. I've managed the social process, video and sound, marketing, customer service. I do so much of the management here at PFF on the content side that a lot of people just see me on Tailgate with the mustache, ripping jokes and all that stuff. But I thought more people would be reaching out about that. So many people reaching out about Tailgate, which has been really, really cool to see.
Yeah, the Master Gators is probably the coolest aspect of the show, in my opinion. The fact that there were so many people that came out on the Tailgate tour last year. There's so many people that see us out in Cincy and come up to us to say hi because of it, that like are actively involved in the show and making it better by doing so. That it is sad to leave you guys.
I do think too that I think we learned a lot about how to build like a podcast brand that's approachable, because I think it's not, I don't think it's coincidental that a lot of when people see us, they're okay and excited to like go. Hey,
Well, it's like
say
I
hi.
want them to.
Yeah,
Like, that's- I would,
yeah.
would like that to be.
I
the
was
case. And,
in.
like,
I
we-
was at Knockback Nats, and I was sitting there with a buddy. You weren't in town, and just watching the game. I think it was a game or whatever. And this guy comes up to me, and it's like a 60 to 65-year-old man, and he's playing board games at Knockback Nats. He said he does that with his friends every single week. He says, "I've been waiting over there for 45 minutes to talk to you." Because I'm a big Tailgate fan. I'm a Masticator. And he's like, he's like, I've watched every episode for the last like 2 years or something. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's like 65 years old.
Not our target
and he
demo,
was,
but still cool.
yeah. And he was nervous to reach out. I was like, dude, you can always say hi, whatever. It was very, very cool. But the following has been awesome. I'm super, super appreciative of everyone. I was, it was one of the hardest, in this decision to move on, which I can't explain the opportunity yet, but I'm excited to eventually. This is one of the things that was hard to come, move past, man. It made me think a lot about what I should do and all that stuff. So I really appreciate everyone that's reached out, and I am gutted to be breaking up the band here. But another voicemail?
Yep, this is a special voicemail from Max.
Oh.
What's up, guys? Tailgate intern Max Chadwick here. AG, real quick, was it 1 cream, 2 sugars in your coffee, or was it 2 sugars, 1 cream in your coffee? I'm at the front of the line at Starbucks
He
right now.
never
I don't want
got
to forget
me
it.
coffee.
Otherwise, man, I can't believe this is the last episode of Tailgate. Before I even started working at PFF, I was a massive fan of both of you during the 2-for-1 days. And right when I got to work at PFF, I immediately texted Austin and asked if I could be the intern for the show. And he reluctantly said yes, and it's been an amazing time ever since. Austin, I'm so sad that you're leaving, man. I mean, you truly were just an incredible person to work for. And you're just the coolest guy ever. And, I thought you're an amazing podcast host. And then when I started working at PFF, I realized you're an amazing boss. And then when I came to Cincinnati and stayed at your place, I realized that you're an amazing friend too, man. And never change. You're going to absolutely kill it at your next job. I'm so freaking excited for you, man. I'm sad that you're leaving, but you're going to kill it. Love you, man.
That was Max Chadwick, intern who's worked on this podcast for the last freaking 150, 200 episodes. He has been awesome as a part-time employee here at PFF, awesome as a part-time contributor on this podcast. Really appreciate the kind words, man. He visited over the draft, right?
Yeah.
And he stayed on my air mattress. The air mattress I have.
First off, you told me the day of, you're like, oh yeah, Max is staying in our place.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But so the air mattress, I bought an air mattress the first time Seth came and visited the offices. And I was like, you can stay on my air mattress because we're still like cutting budget and shit like that. I was like, dude, I don't know if I can afford a hotel, but I can get you on the air mattress. And like now, like Seth Galena, among like 3 or 4 other people have stayed on it. But one of the nights we were bevying decently, and I forgot that he was staying with me, and he ended up having to get a hotel at like 4 in the morning because I didn't let him in. Wasn't good. Max will never live it down. But
I didn't know that.
It was rough. It was rough. But Max
He could have
is
hit
an
me
awesome
up.
dude. He should have. But yeah, that was really appreciate you, Max. Appreciate the kind words. Anything else?
Nope, that's it for the voicemails.
That's it for the voicemails. All right. Do we want to start? I have some of the stories written chronologically. I think we can go back and forth or wherever we want to do. How about how you started at PFF?
Okay.
I think you've told bits and pieces of the story, but let's hear the full thing.
So I found PFF, I want to say like my junior year of college, maybe like 2010. And I would like read, and that's when they gave the grades away for free back then. There was time, and then they locked them, and then it kind of went back and forth. And by the time, so I was like a fan. And then my second semester senior year, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. As an accounting major, I had an accounting degree, but I was didn't want to do it accounting. So I started taking actuary exams. I passed 2 actuary exams, but then I found this. I found that like PFF's hiring, and they're like, it was like the role's analyst, and it was really a shit role. I come to find, but
Was it part-time or full-time?
it was part time. It was just like I think this is illegal, honestly, in retrospect. They used to pay based off of accuracy.
Yeah. I was in that same group.
Yeah, so I was getting paid, and if like I did poorly on a game, it's all of a sudden just like
You get no money.
zilch money. I think it was half money. You'd still get some, but it was like a lot less than what you ideally would have liked to have for like 8 hours of work. So it was like well below minimum wage for 8 hours of work. So it would be, I did that. Like I said, I got good enough on the first test game to get a second test game. And after the first test game, they gave me a subscription to PFF, like a free subscription. And I found out where to go in the subscription to dig behind the paywall to then check to again get the numbers, like get the accuracy numbers that I was doing in my test, which was just saying where guys are on the football field. I found out where to go to get that. And so for my next test, I just cheated. I just cheated, and I was in the top 3 accuracy, and they hired.
Not number 1.
No, I kind of like fidgeted some
Love
to
that.
make it,
Love that.
to make sure I wasn't getting too accurate, but I cheated and got in the top 3. I think I hired like a dozen people anyway, so I didn't necessarily need to, just as like part-time data collectors.
I'm in love.
And I did that all fall while I was waiting tables, and then the next year I was given enough games. I still wasn't full-time the second year even at PFF. I was given enough games where I could actually like just do that full-time, and even still it was pretty cutting it tight. I was still living at home, honestly, with my parents for a good portion of that. And then third year, I got hired full-time. That's history.
Where were you waiting tables?
I was waiting tables at a pizza place in Champaign, Illinois called Jupiter's. It's awful. But did that, and then I almost didn't make it here because one time Neil Hornsby fired me.
Dude, this story.
I don't think I've told this story on the podcast.
Don't tell the full story. Tell some of it, but it's
I got to tell the full story. Come on.
no, I don't think you can. I don't think you can tell the full story.
So after I moved here, I get into this limbo of like, it's kind of everyone at PFF's been here at some point where you're doing a bunch of different shit. Like you can't, because with the nature of football, it's not going to be the same work at all periods of time. So I'm like,
it's also the nature of a startup, right?
Yeah. And I'm like on the content side at this point, and I'm also doing grading of games, but then I'm also learning coding to help create some products and stuff, like some reports that would help to basically learning VBA to make better, I guess, like
SSRS reports, right?
Yeah,
for the
so
B2B
just
teams.
like, yeah, to have better reports, to have better stats more readily available that we now have via Ultimate. And so it was a waste of my time in retrospect. But I'm doing all that, and we have these like Khaled, who is the director of like the actual
collection
grading
of the
games.
data and grading of
Data collection, sends out just like a company-wide email that's basically saying like, hey, if you're all the graders are expected to do 5 games a week. But Neil had also like told me to do all this other shit that's like taking up a vast majority of my time, like learning VBA. He's like, do that to like make the reports and writing articles and all that other stuff. And so I'm just like assuming this doesn't apply to me. I'm like, okay, because there are guys who literally just are graders and doing nothing else of that sort. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing the other things. I'm going to prioritize those because I believe it was May.
Yeah.
I think it was actually Memorial Day weekend, I want to say. But I think it was this weekend, actually. So I had booked a trip for Memorial Day weekend to Las Vegas and had that in the works, but hadn't actually told PFF that I was leaving town.
Incredible.
And so
not just leaving town, you're leaving to Las Vegas.
And that was on a Friday afternoon. And I didn't take any time off for it because it's like, it's like a Friday like 2.
I didn't know that part. I thought you told him.
It was a Friday like 2. And at that point, I was working from the office still. And Neil had this like harping that like everyone works in the office. And so.
What year is this? 2017?
I believe it was 2017.
This would be like 3 days after I started then.
Yeah.
Because I started May 21st.
Okay. Yeah.
So
probably
it was like 10 days after you
started. And it was
perfect
because that's why I never saw you, because I was working from the office then, doing that. And I get called in. This is on a Wednesday. I get called in. Neil's like, hey, you're not. Cal tells me you haven't been getting these games done. You have to get these games done. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize they didn't apply to me, or that still applied to me. I was focusing on the other stuff. I'll go ahead and do it. It's like 5 games a week was the expectation. I was like, okay, I'll get the games. I expected to do like summer. 2 games over the next 2 days, because 5 games over the next 2 days would be ridiculous. So Thursday, I get a game done. I asked Neil on Thursday, hey, can I work from home Friday? I just wanted, whatever. It's Friday.
You didn't tell him you're flying to Vegas.
It's a Friday in fucking May. I didn't tell him I'm flying to Vegas. It's a Friday in May. Can I get a goddamn work from home day? Yes, he says. I go the next day. I get a game done, and I'm ready to fly to Vegas. I go to the airport. It's like 1 p.m. I get a call from Neil. As I'm about to board the plane is boarding. I had a call from Neil, and he says, did you get your 5 games done? And I was like, 5 games? I did 2 games. Like, 5 games would be ridiculous. He's like, Cal tells me you haven't gotten your 5 games done. I was like, that wasn't a ridiculous expectation to me to get 5 games. And then it kind of gets like off the rails here that Neil was not happy with me, let's just say. I can't say the exact details of it. I think HR sealed that. But long story short, the call ends by him saying, you either come back or you're fired. You either come back to the office right now or you're fired. And I'm like, even then, I still am like, I can't come back to the office. I'm actually not in Cincy anymore.
Yeah. You're still not telling him we're going to Vegas?
No, I'm not telling him I'm going to Vegas.
Incredible.
And he loses his mind. that was not good. Get on the plane, and I'm like typing up an email to HR, like on the plane. I'm not even going back to Neil at this point. I'm like, I still want my job. The resolution, I come back, meeting with HR that Tuesday after Memorial Day. Come back.
Who was in HR at the time? I don't even remember.
It was actually someone who ended up getting fired for embezzling money from PFF.
Oh, God.
Which was another good
Oh,
story.
you're right. You're
Who was
right.
it?
I
Who was her
don't
name?
remember her name.
But
you're
she
right.
stole
Yeah,
money from PFF and got fired. But the resolution of that with her and Kurt Freiberger, who was the CFO, I believe, at the time, was that Neil couldn't give me any more direct orders, and I could work from home as much as I wanted. I didn't have to work from
so
the
you
office
got this
anymore.
like free pass?
And so that's why I never worked from the office, and that's why I was always like, you would never see me,
because when we
I never came in after that.
I started May 21st. You get a free pass May 31st, it seems.
Yeah.
And then that was when we were working in that office where they were renting it from the Lightborn space here in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like in July, they closed that rented office space down to finish this office, the one that we're in now. And then we didn't work in there until like September. And then you still weren't coming into the office during the season. I feel like I didn't even see you until like summer 2018 or early 2018.
Yeah, it was probably like February 2018.
yep.
So we first actually saw each other like right before that holiday party that year.
I love it. That's a great.
So the tailgate was this close to never happening. It was very close.
I'll tell my start to PFF. I was working a ton of different like unpaid jobs at San Diego State, trying to like land enough to build out a resume to get a job out of college. So I was working as like the sports editor at the Daily Aztec, the San Diego State newspaper. I was the sports director at the San Diego State radio station. I was like a freelancer for a handful of things, San Diego Union Tribune, Fox Sports San Diego, a handful of like the Fan Nation, SB Nation, blog.org football stuff. And PFF was just another one of those opportunities, right? PFF I saw was a paid opportunity too. So I was like, oh man, I'm in. They're hiring the same thing that you're hiring you for. I think it was in 2016 where I was like, I'm in. I go through the trial games. The trial games are an absolute grind. You have to do them all in Excel. Take you like 6 hours a piece. Yep. And if you don't hit like 97% or better accuracy, you don't get hired like at all. Yeah. It doesn't matter how you interview or ever. Yeah. And so like I'm spending like double the amount of time because I'm checking to make sure I get the nod, and I do. That whole year and a half of doing games for PFF, I'm doing special teams player participation, which is you have to tell on the play who and where they lined up for all 22 players on the football field, which is absolutely a grind with the angles of the tape you get for special teams. I had to do that for college and the NFL. So I was doing that for special teams. I did that for offense defense. I also did some base. I did some advanced player participation. I was doing all these different games trying to scrap up enough dollars to continue to live in San Diego. Then when I was graduating from San Diego State, that last year my senior year at San Diego State, I slept in my car. And the reason I did is because I was coming back from being a summer camp counselor. And I didn't have like a place. I was in Maine for like 3 months, and I didn't have a place set out yet when I was going back. And I was like, oh, I should look at that. And I kept thinking about it. And then my buddy, his name is Brian. Brian's like, what if we just slept in our car for the next like 6 months? Because we don't have any money, and we weren't coming back with anything. And it's like, fuck it, I'll do it. And we did that for the first 6 months, and it was awful, like absolutely awful. I got caught once sleeping in the San Diego State parking lot. This cop like knocks on and is like, hey, what are you doing in here? And I was like, oh man, like me and my girlfriend just got in an argument or something, and like I didn't want to like sleep there. And then she's like, wait, what'd you do? And I was like, no, I didn't do anything. You know, and they're like, like now I got myself in more trouble. She's like, you just need to leave. So I drive my car and then I like park it outside somebody's house, and then I like sleep in there. But then eventually I was like bouncing around to different people's couches and stuff without them knowing I was sleeping in my car. I would just like ask to spend the night way more often than I should have. It was gross, very gross. And then my second semester of senior year, I got a paid internship with Fox Sports Fox Sports San Diego, and then I was paying $300 a month to sleep on my buddy's couch. And then I finally doing all that stuff, right? You're doing all that stuff to try and get out of college with an offer. I applied to like every freaking job in the country. I had advice from one of the editors at San Diego Union Tribune. He's like, oh, you want to work in sports? You want to work in journalism? You can't work here. You're not going to work in San Diego. It's just not going to happen. The Padres were ass. The Chargers were leaving. Yeah. They don't have a basketball team. It's like, you're never going to work here. So I applied to like every place in the country. And they had offers from a place in Pratt, Kansas to do high school sports, Baltimore for like high school women's softball. The Lincoln Journal-Star was interested for me to cover Nebraska wrestling, the University of Nebraska wrestling, Big Ten wrestling. And then I was telling PFF that like, all right, I'm leaving. I'm not going to do this part-time stuff anymore because I'm going to take one of these full-time offers. And then PFF late said you should apply for this customer, not even get, but apply for this customer service position based in Cincinnati if you want it. And I did, nailed the interview process and got it. And I ended up choosing that over all the other things. But that is how I got my start at PFF, which was an absolute freaking grind. That first year, though, I have some good stories. That when I moved, do you have the YouTube video pulled up, Quinn? When I moved to Cincinnati, they asked me to move 9 days after my graduation.
Yeah.
So like I had to like scramble.
That was when Neil was like, everyone has to be there.
Yes. Everyone has to be in the office.
Yeah.
No matter what. And I was like, okay, cool. That's fine. I'm excited for it. When do you need me? Oh, 9 days after graduation. So I had to like pack up all my shit while taking finals, while doing all this stuff, and then drive up to my parents' house to like drop my car off. I gave it to my sister, a little parting gift. And then we had to ship all of our stuff to Cincy, and then we flew. Whatever. The bottom line of the story is I could not find an apartment to save my goddamn life that fit the salary that they offered me to kick off here, which was an absolute grind. But I ended up looking at this YouTube video, and I'm like, oh, what about this spot? It's like $600 a month. This is the apartment. $600 a month, 2-bedroom, 2-story. Hardwood floors don't look terrible. I don't know about the oven placement, but like I was like, this doesn't look that bad. If you fast forward a little bit, you get to the spiral staircase. It's like.
And the other thing that I'll add, that when I was looking for apartments in Cincinnati, everyone's like, oh, OTR is like the cool area of town. You probably want to be in OTR.
Yeah.
There are two distinctly like different areas of OTR that one you want to be in, one you would not want to be in.
No one gave me any help. No.
And
That's
so
the
you
other
look
thing.
up OTR, it says this apartment is in OTR.
Yes. No one gave me any help on where I should live. I just wanted to live close to the office because I wasn't bringing a car and I knew I was going to be biking or walking. You got to go back to that part of the video. That little like heater thing over there, like was open to the outside and would fly in, like birds could fly in, and then they get trapped in there, and it would be the loudest thing in the world. You just hear like a flapping and squawking in this heater/AC disaster that doesn't work furnace. This is the upstairs part. Yeah, anyway, you look at it, you're like, this is $600 a month. I was paying $600 a month to like split a room at one point in San Diego.
That does look kind of cool.
Yes.
Like a 2-bedroom.
It was nice. And then you get to this other bedroom, it's nice. The problem was that this video is from 2011, and I was moving in 2017. And the hardwood floors when I got there were absolutely disgusting. The heater/vault thing doesn't work. The AC doesn't work. That's the other heater thing that traps in birds. But it was one of the worst apartments I've ever been a part of. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. So I moved initially here with my college girlfriend, and that's why we wanted 2 bedrooms. We wanted some space, whatever. We rented a truck to
What a
pick up.
deal.
We rented a truck to get couches and shit.
Yeah.
And we're driving like this badass F-150 that we rented, obviously did not own, through like a really bad area of Cincinnati. This is based in a very bad area of Cincinnati where it's very gentrified and all that stuff. We're going through, and there's this guy. Not gentrified, yeah. This guy is helping his mom into a wheelchair. And I did not understand at this time, coming from Oakland, coming from San Diego, that there is such a big like racial divide in Cincinnati. Like, it is a very segregated city, and there's a lot of inbred racism in Cincinnati for how things are structured. Regardless, I'm watching this African-American man help, I think, his mom in a wheelchair into a car. And I'm pausing, I'm parking or braking the truck because it's a narrow road, and I'm not going to scoot past and try and squeeze past this little event. So I'm kind of like watching intently, waiting for this to go. He stops, putting her in the car, stops the whole process, comes up to my window, and I thought he was going to ask for help or something. And he says, "Do you want to die?" And I was like, "Oh my God." And then Haley is in the passenger seat, and she's like, "You should drive." And I was like, I start driving. That was my first hour in Cincinnati. And then I get into this apartment, and it's a fucking disaster. And I lived there for a year. In that time, mice, bats, birds getting trapped all up and down this thing. There was one time where a mouse got trapped on the mouse trap. My girlfriend did not want to take it out, so she left it. And then when she got back, a second mouse was on it, trying to help that other mouse. Then we were splitting up while we still lived together. And it was 2 stories. The upstairs is the only place that got warm. The downstairs was like negative 10 degrees. I had to sleep in a 19-degree sleeping bag on my like last couple months in the apartment. It was such a disastrous first year, all of which when I won Employee of the Year at PFF. You love to see it. I won Employee of the Year at PFF.
That was awesome clapping, by the way, if you're not watching on YouTube. Not me.
I won Employee of the Year at PFF. I crushed the customer service role because it was the easiest thing since sliced bread, whatever. Then at the end of the year party, PFF used to have these like big parties before like COVID and like people could get together at the end of the year, which usually came around the Super Bowl. I get Employee of the Year in my first year at PFF. George Chahuri gets Rookie of the Year in his first year at PFF.
He wanted to kill
He
you.
is absolutely livid.
Yeah,
Wants
he
me
wanted-
dead.
he wanted
Wants me
Lloyd
dead.
there.
But I didn't know him at all. I didn't know him at the time. I didn't know you at the time. I didn't know anyone really. I was just kind of just working. I knew the bats and the birds in my fucking apartment, and that's pretty much it. I get pretty bombed winning Employee of the Year because I'm losing my mind. They gave me $1,000. That was a huge amount of money for me when I was making as much as I did to win Employee of the Year. And apparently, I found this up from George or Eric recently because Eric and I are really close friends now. So is George and I. But Eric says, I went up to George and I said, "Hey, George, I'm Austin. We both won awards." And George wanted to eat my face after. It was an incredible first year at PFF, man.
Oh, dude. That is an incredible story. And he did. I was sitting with him, and he was pissed when he won. I was actually very happy. And I was also very happy that I've never won an award at PFF. And I hope that continues. I don't want any award ever, please.
Well, best podcast. So I have 2018-19 in
just a
here.
given.
This is where I wrote Mike and I become close friends. We had the Summer of Our Lives. Summer of
weird
2018.
about
Summer of 2018 was different.
It was a good summer.
Rosedale.
It was right after I was
10 for
on-
10s.
I was on a TV show that summer, and then got a
Yeah.
little weird.
You were on a TV show, and when you came back, everyone was like, "Are you Mike Renner from The Bachelorette?" I pretended I was your agent a couple of nights. It was a good time.
Did that work out?
No, it didn't. Never did.
I don't
Never
know.
did.
I don't know. I didn't actually
Absolutely
know that.
didn't. The only story I want to tell from the summer of 2018 was the Pinks Are Out story.
That's a good story. Can I tell? Or,
Yeah, go ahead. Tell
Okay. So there were these things called 10 for 10s, which are in Cincinnati, this like company puts it on. It goes to a rotating bar like every week that $10 gets you 8 Miller Lights and 2 shots of Fireball. And so it's like a happy hour thing. And so it, like the bar gets packed during happy hour on Fridays. So we would go to them a lot that summer, obviously. And they gave drink tickets that were like blue for the Miller Lights, pink for the shots.
So that
And-
you get 8 blues, 2 pinks.
And we had gone up to these 2 girls, talking to them, going well.
Which is a shock.
What did you say prior to?
We should get some shots.
Oh,
I'm saying, yeah. I'm
And
saying
you're like talking about getting some shots. You're like asking them, "Hey, do you want to go do some shots?"
because the 10 for 10s make it
Yeah.
that easy, right?
It's
It's
very
like,
easy.
hey, everyone has the
'Cause
same
everyone has
fucking
to-
drinks. Yeah,
I
you're
don't even
like,
have to buy 'em for you.
Exactly.
And you say, "Oh yeah, the Pinks are out," and they looked at you like you had just said you're gonna make out with their mom. They were disgusted.
I will never forget how you looked at me when they walked away. I was already so fucking embarrassed. You looked at me and you looked at me like you were just so stunned that I could have blown such a lead. It was like the Patriots are up 28-3, and you're like, no way. There's just no way. There's no way you blew that.
Dude, it was. They didn't do shots with us. Let's just say
No
that.
shit. Yeah, the Pinks were out, but they were not down. They were not down. We also played a ton of bags that year. Rosedale. I got good at
I
bags.
taught you how to play bags.
I taught you
You
how
had
to play
some
bags.
bad bag form.
Oh
when
my
we started.
God. Oh, yeah.
It's an odd thing on the West Coast, I guess.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a big thing.
It's massive.
You play so much more beer die. You play way
Yeah.
more beer die than you do play bags.
Interesting.
All right. The year 3, this one's tough. So year 3, December of 2019, I step into the content director role. George Chahuri promotes me, which is freaking awesome. It kind of shifts the entire content consumer side at PFF and how we approach things. 4 months after December 2019, well, guess what? COVID fucking hits.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say we started 2-for-1 drafts. Because we didn't start 2-for-1 drafts.
We started
in
2-for-1
2019.
drafts in 2019 before I took over
Yeah,
the director
before that.
role.
Yeah.
COVID hits in 2020. Remember we were recording like free agency reaction videos from our homes. We looked awful.
I don't know if I told this about when COVID hit. So COVID hit, and I was getting veneers because I had knocked out my front 2 teeth when I was a kid, and my caps that
Oh,
I
do we have
put
the
on
picture?
them, the caps I had put on them were starting to wear off, like they're starting to hurt. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get veneers. They're like permanent or more permanent. And so I get my teeth ground down a little bit to put veneers on, probably 3 or 4 days before everything shuts down.
Oh my gosh.
And so I have like temporaries put over, like caps put over, but I'm not supposed to eat anything directly on those with your 2 front teeth.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
supposed to eat anything on those. So I'm trying for like weeks on end to like make this last because they were only supposed to be in there for a week.
Because you couldn't go to the dentist to fix
And I
it.
couldn't go to the dentist. Dentist is
Wow.
closed. They haven't even made my veneers yet. There's no way they can like do anything for me. And so I'd say after about a week and a half, my teeth shatter biting into a piece of pizza. And so I have 2 nubs on the front of my face.
Show the picture, Quinn, please.
I have 2 like dwindly little teeth. And that was my friend made that when Tiger King was coming out.
Tiger King was one of the highlights of COVID.
It was one of the highlights of COVID. And I'm panicking, though, because we have the draft show I'm supposed to be on.
That's right.
I am supposed to lead our draft coverage. And I'm like, what do I'm not going on a show like that. No one wants you on a show like that.
I don't even want you here,
maybe
knowing
do
that those
voiceovers.
exist.
I would do voiceovers, but I'm not going to go on. What I ended up doing, and I don't think anyone ever could even realize, I had a retainer that I put gum in and put on a retainer and wore a retainer for the entire show. If you go back and look, you'll see that I
believe it flew out on one of the 2-for-1 drafts.
Oh, it did.
If you go back,
it did.
I don't know which one it is, but I think if you go back and look, it mid-pod flies out.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, got to put it back in real quick. That was pretty funny.
That
that's an Easter egg.
That transition to remote videos was the grind. We the remote 2020 NFL draft show was rough. A lot of that stuff was pretty rough. We were doing the Syria show together in your house.
Breaking COVID protocol
to get the Syria show done. That was hilarious. All right. 2020 to 2021. Everything was remote. I feel like all of 2020 to me, I just remember everyone was just grinding their ass off at home. And no one was going out, obviously. And then also we were pretty worried about our jobs. I mean, we needed to, what was crazy, PFF on the consumer side and the B2B side, through COVID, no sports. Obviously, football was less affected than others. No layoffs and no pay decreases, which is a huge...
No PPP loans. Take that, Tom Brady.
That was insane. Then 2021 hits. Things are coming back. And I have to say, it was the best draft show experience of my life. I had so much fun hosting day 3. Hosting day 3 was so fun. I had such a good time, and loved every bit of it.
The only thing I hated was that you scheduled us for an 8 a.m. radio show Saturday morning.
And before literally 9
and
hours
a
of
podcast on Friday night. So I think we slept 6 hours. You slept at the office that day.
I did. It was worth it.
And before the longest day of work of the year. So
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
That after that draft, so the 2021 NFL draft show, we had all gone to Vegas for George Chahuri's birthday 3 months before, March 2021. We planned this surprise party for George Chahuri, who's the GM of Consumer now. He's been our boss for a long time. And on a whim at his party while we're playing poker, smoking cigars, and drinking, he's like, I'm going to buy a flight to Vegas in May after the draft. And then you were like, I'll buy a flight to Vegas in May after the draft. Yeah. And I said, okay, then if you guys are going, I'll go. And then we end up getting a group of 8 guys at PFF all to agree to go to this Vegas trip, all while we're buzzing and smoking cigars. And that Vegas
fun
trip,
fact about that day, George's birthday. That was the most Miller Lights I ever consumed in one day. I got
really?
to 30 that day. That was a time.
That was That was a tough hangover, I will say.
Yeah,
but we got the Vegas trip. We bought the Vegas trip. Any stories? I like the story where you got kicked out of the Panda Express.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
There was some other bad stories, but that one, I still miss. I still think about that Panda Express and what it could have been. I needed it, obviously, in the moment.
George Chahuri did not have his ID for Vegas for whatever reason. I can't remember if he lost it or whatever. He goes to this blackjack table. We're all trying to play blackjack, and they're not accepting his paper version of his ID or the ID on his phone, which you'd expect. It's Vegas. They're not going to let you in with some fucking paper mache ID. But he's screaming at the blackjack dealer, and he's got a short fuse. This guy will light it up pretty quickly. Yeah. And I remember just dying laughing when he got kicked out. That same dealer told me I could not swear, and I got kicked off the table too. So pretty brutal.
Swear? Get kicked off the table for swearing?
I wasn't even swearing at her. I was just saying son of a bitch, when she would deal a bad card, and she was like, you can't do that here. I was like, all right. The only story I had else from the Vegas trip was
the game maker.
The game maker. Ayers getting kicked out of the pool. I didn't get let into the pool at one time.
Ayers peeing his pants.
Wait, I don't know if we can tell Ayers.
Okay, my bad.
But the brunch of the century. We go into brunch on Mother's Day in Vegas. On Mother's Day in Vegas. It was a 2.5 hour wait. We're hungover as hell. I don't know why we did that. I was so mad that we were in line.
I wasn't.
But then when we got there,
because I knew the payoff was going to be.
When we got there, food was incredible. I mean, it's a freaking Vegas buffet.
The
it was incredible.
whatever spoon was it called? The
Wicked Spoon.
Wicked Spoon. Fantastic brunch.
So
the food is incredible there. But go ahead.
So we go to the brunch. We're eating everything in sight. We've been in line for 3 hours on Mother's Day, and we get this waitress who just reeks of veteran savvy. Right, yeah. She just has the appeal of.
She's like a Vegas waitress that's over 50.
Yes.
You're picture that to a T.
Who's done it for a long time.
Yeah.
And probably
She's probably had every job in Vegas you could imagine.
not every,
Keep thinking. Yeah.
So she is on our level in terms of making sure that the bottomless mimosas are flowing. And we're
That we get our money's worth.
And we're technically only allowed to be there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So you're only allowed to you have to get your money's worth within 2 hours. And then in the last 30 minutes, we ask, or the last 45, we ask her if we can switch to just champagne instead of to continue to get the orange juice and the sugar and all that stuff. And then she says to us, of course, I'm the game maker.
And
we
she lets out a laugh, and we're terrified.
She took a picture of us, but I don't think you have it, and Quinn doesn't have it. But that picture is so funny.
It's so
funny.
blurry. No,
It's
I
so
took it.
Oh, you took it.
I took it. It was because I was so deep in the bag, and I had her sit in my seat, and I took a picture of her at the table with you guys. It was.
Well, we'll have to look at it after because that one is pretty funny. That kind of summed up 2021, or the 2021 summer, and 2021, 2022. That was the Tailgate tour. We went to Illinois, Columbus, Happy Valley, Soldier Field, South Bend, Cincinnati, UK, Baton Rouge, Tuscaloosa. We couldn't make it out to the world's largest cocktail party because our flights got screwed.
What a brutal weekend that was.
It sucked.
I remember getting off the plane, and I had a message or just a notification that said your flight's canceled. Not even a delay.
I thought you were kidding.
I did too. I've never seen that before. Just a canceled flight, and I'm what does they even? It was such a bad start to that weekend.
That was going to be a weekend too,
It was.
dude. If we
World's
could have
largest
made it
cocktail
out
party.
to the world's largest cocktail party. So then we didn't even go to the Louisville game next week, did we?
Yeah, no.
And then we went to
Disheartened.
Tennessee, skipped Morgantown because we were burnt out. And then I only went to Ann Arbor,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of the best games of my freaking life. Do you want to start in Champaign? I don't know if you had any good stories there.
I think the good stories from that. Champagne was good because it had a good story. I walked probably about 12 miles home from the bar because my phone died and my watch died, and the line to get back into camps is so long that I was never going to find you and didn't feel like waiting. So I'm I'm just going to walk home. How far could it be?
Yeah.
Got in about 5 a.m. That's how long it was.
Champagne's also where we went to Joe's, right?
Yeah. Joe's.
So we go to Joe's. This is Renner's old stopping ground because you're from Champaign.
Yeah.
And you want to just play bags the entire day. So you're playing and you are on one of those tears, right, where you just can't lose. And you're with your friend from home, Austin Rundis.
Yeah.
And so we're not partners, which you hate to see, but you're just burning it
wanted to
down with
win.
this
I
kid.
wanted
Yeah,
to win.
you're burning it down with this kid, Austin Rundis. And so much to a point where these young kids who are obviously going to the University of Illinois, I'm talking 20-year-olds, I don't even know how they got into the bar. They're talking to their friends.
They're who is this guy?
Yeah, they're who is this guy? This guy is just blowing through us. And I was yeah, that's the buzzsaw. He's been here for years. And then, so I'm spreading around this buzzsaw term.
Yeah.
And then I hear some other kids yeah, that kid's the buzzsaw. People are calling you the buzzsaw by the end of the night. There was one game where you beat somebody 21-0. You were just cruising.
And that was also the day when you started your traditional the traditional tailgate tour. Basically, your tradition of buying way too much alcohol for the moment.
Yes.
You would come back for 3 people sometimes with 8 shots, a random number of
I know. That's kind of
it's
my go-to.
What are we doing? 2.5 a piece
Yeah,
or what? You came back one time, I think, for 3 people with 5 pitchers. Or there was people are gonna have to have multiple pitchers in their hand to even try to drink them. So
Good time.
That was
Good time.
That was a staple of the tailgate tour.
Ohio State was phenomenal.
That was the drunkest you were in a press box by far.
Yes.
You showed up to the press box, and I thought we were gonna have issues.
That was
because you were about to fall asleep and sitting there. And
I was down.
It's a big press box. Ohio State's press box is probably the biggest press box we were in.
No amount of food was going to help.
And I was you just gotta you gotta keep it together.
Because we got to Ohio
don't
State.
say anything, but
we
just
got
act
there,
normal.
and we got there at 6 a.m. And we had some buddies who go to Ohio State, and they're we're already drinking. And they've been up since 5.
Yeah.
The pregame was insane. It was the first Ohio State game back in Columbus since pre-COVID. The energy was unparalleled.
I think that's not my least favorite thing about tailgate ending, but I am very sad that the tailgate tour will not be in Columbus for week 1 next year.
I know. Maybe we still go.
Yeah.
We could still go. It just won't be the tailgate tour. Happy Valley, we did not send it too much because we did a day trip, there and back. Drove there and back in the same day. But that game was absolutely
Electric
absurd.
atmosphere.
You have to go to a wideout. You have to. You have to go to a wideout in your lifetime. If you are a football fan, you have to go to a wideout, period.
Happy Valley was the first experience, though, with your hotel choices, shall we say, where we stayed in some rough spots. The Knoxville, Tennessee, had cobwebs in the room.
We hid our
Happy
backpacks.
Valley had the first one. The first door was kicked in of our hotel that they gave us was kicked in that you couldn't open the door because it was so bent. So they had to give us another room.
The hotel choices on the tailgate tour were choices. They were bad.
Yeah.
They were really bad. Knoxville is definitely the worst. We'll get to Knoxville. But Happy Valley was sick. Electric atmosphere. I think I might go back this year. I don't know. Soldier Field. I didn't have tickets, but you did. So
My brother peed in a bag in the stadium.
That was electric. You got to get that picture too. That picture is also fun. He's like holding it like a
In line to get another beer.
He's holding this bag of pee like it's like a fish he caught.
Yeah, dude, it
He's
does
like-
look like a bag
Yeah.
that you'd get a goldfish in from a county fair, and it's full of piss.
It's very
Great
good.
game.
But I stayed on the outside, and that was when I tweeted and deleted Wisconsin stinks.
Yeah.
Drunk from a bar in Chicago.
An all-time Save Your Likes tweet.
That was an all-time Save Your Likes tweet. South Bend was the following weekend. Got to find out what it was like to premium tailgate, you know?
South Bend, awesome atmosphere. We met up with this reporter in town, Kelly Conway.
You're going to tell that
Should
story?
I tell the story?
You're going to tell that story?
Who's the Cincy reporter for the Bengals.
I think she's a reporter for the Bengals now.
And I'm hammered after the game. I mean,
You were
Notre
so
Dame just
upset
lost.
'cause Cincinnati lost.
So Notre Dame just lost. I need a drink. This bar went to Brothers. They have like $6 Long Islands. They're like tall Long Islands. I probably put down like 5, like real quick after the game.
You were.
And she's like, I'm like, oh, yeah, meet us at Brothers. Like, she texted me because I had like met her a couple times in Cincy, and she told me she was going to the game. Meet her at Brothers. She's there with like friends, and they're not on our level by any means. They are.
No
just,
one
like,
was on your level.
They
to
were
be
just
fair,
trying
though.
to like have see a game, have fun, go back to their hotel in like the next half hour. They are eating, and I apparently dipped my hand in their ranch when I got a wing, like a little.
It was a nugget. It was a nugget.
A nugget, a little too aggressively, and started like.
You do not tell the story justice. You don't give the story justice. You grab one of her chicken nuggets.
Okay, that was-
and she wasn't even offering. That was another part of it. You grab a nugget, dip your hand in this ranch, and like you are knuckle deep. And rather than like, oh man, I hands her, you're like sucking it off your fingers. And she turns to her friend and she's like, I want to go. And I almost was like, same. And like they left, which was hilarious. That same night, you probably don't remember this either. We're all trying to take a picture. It's because it was a big PFF thing. Mitch came out, Nick Hogan came out, a bunch of guys from because they were playing Cincinnati. And then there was this one guy you didn't know trying to get in the picture with us, but I think he knew somebody else, and you were screaming at him to get out of the picture.
I do actually remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't want the guy in the picture. Dude. I
know
wanted a
you
picture of my
didn't.
friends.
It was so funny. That was funny. The following weekend, we stayed in Cincinnati because they were playing Temple on a Friday. I lost my backpack that evening, which you hate to see, including my computer. The next morning, we went to Lexington without my computer. That was a tough weekend for me. I don't even know if I have any good stories off of that. I lost my fucking computer that weekend, which was bad.
You were so hurting. You did not want to go to Lexington.
I did not. The following weekend, the boys go to Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge, great.
David Sofaro makes the trip. He was on the Champaign trip. He was on the Happy Valley trip to Penn State. He did not make it out to Soldier Field because of a wedding. He didn't make it to South Bend because of a wedding, I think. He was there at Cincinnati. He did not come out to UK. But he comes out to LSU, and the guy lights it up. It was a fun weekend for David Sofaro.
That was the weekend where you ordered milk at a Waffle House and
Two
got 2 glasses of milk. I wanted to puke for you. I wanted
And it was
to get out
2
of your
hours
system.
after I had like a full thing of Five Guys.
Yeah, it was pretty gross.
There was too much alcohol consumed at the Baton Rouge trip, but it was a lot of fun. That was a fun atmosphere, and LSU won. And we got to make that pastelaya. We made so our goal was we're gonna make friends with someone by offering them our beer, pretty much. So hey, you can have our beer.
That's how tailgate works.
Yeah. So we come in with these beers, and we're like, hey, the tailgate's kind of dead because LSU stinks, and Ed
Very
Orgeron's
dead.
on his way out. We put our beers in their cooler, and they're like, hey, you want some pastelaya? You can help us make it. And I'm like out here in this like big ass gumbo pot. That was a lot of fun. Then after the game, we kind of got buzzed out. I want to bring up Tuscaloosa because
That was the drunkest I was in a press box all year.
You were so not interested in going to. You had some other interests going on at that tailgate that you were like, I don't know if I want to go to the game, boys. It's like, you are going to the goddamn game. You are coming to the game. We're watching the freaking Alabama Crimson Tide.
I'm glad I did. Stadium was electric, and it was actually not the worst game against Tennessee until obviously it blew them out in the second half. But that was a good time.
Do you remember the dogs? The dog sauce and the onions at Tuscaloosa? That's where they had it.
Oh yeah, they had very good press box food.
Oh my gosh.
And the coolest fucking thing, they had cornhole boards built into their campus. We played on cement cornhole boards built into Alabama's quad.
Yes.
It was the coolest thing.
The Alabama tailgate is up there with the best in football. I mean, the energy is so shared. Everyone's on the same tier.
Yeah.
We're doing ski shots, playing cornhole, and literal things built into the campus. It was a lot of fun. We skipped at LSU where I had the unlimited amounts of biscuits and grits on my plate, where it was just like the most savage amount of press box food anyone's ever seen. That was unfortunate.
That was gross.
Tuscaloosa, also, that bar scene is incredible. We got to get back to Tuscaloosa. We didn't go to Jacksonville because we couldn't make it. We skipped Louisville. I think you were out of town. We go to Tennessee. That was Tennessee, Georgia.
Yeah.
And we stayed at the worst hotel I've ever been in my entire life. It created a new floor for what a hotel could be, like what you could pay money to sleep in. That I was stunned by, and I apologize profusely for. We were like hiding our backpacks thinking it was going to get robbed and stuff. It was a tough scene there in Knoxville. What other highlights did we have in Knoxville? Played some darts with some Master Gators out there.
I'm trying to think. Knoxville was pretty tame.
Yeah.
I think it was a good time, though.
Skipped Morgantown, then Ann Arbor. We've told that story 100 times, but Ann Arbor was an absolute movie scene. I was dancing on top of tables. It was one of the best college towns I've been to, if not the best. It's hard when you go to Happy Valley, Columbus, Tuscaloosa, and Ann Arbor all in the same year. We were talking about it recently in the chat with Dave. It was like that football season was dumb. What we were able to accomplish, what we did, the scenes that we saw were insane. We got to try and get out, even though the tailgate tour is ending, obviously. We got to try and get out to a couple games and do some stuff. It should be a good time. Any other stories we're going to highlight here? Or we have some one-star reviews, the only one-star reviews the podcast ever got.
End it with the 1 stars.
End it with the 1 stars and then appreciation.
We've set all the 5 stars. We've let you guys ask your questions on the 5 stars. But over the years, we did get 5 1-star reviews. 5 haters. We're getting their wish.
Master haters.
Master haters getting their wish by the podcast going down. So let's read some of these 1 stars.
This is from Sure Air Rifle.
I think it's Surreal Riffy.
Surreal Riffy. Laughable knowledge. While this podcast is about entertainment, they may want to do some research. You hate to see that. I definitely think there are some
At least
podcasts.
he said it's about entertainment.
Yeah. There are some podcasts though, where we've leaned too far into the entertainment, like this one. This one's from...
I've done no research on the spot.
This is from G-Zus. Slow down. That's fair. I get that feedback a lot. This is the only podcast I've ever listened to at 0.75 speed because those hosts speak so quickly. That's honestly incredibly aggravating. Take a second to catch your freaking breath, guys. Alvin the Chipmunk has a less annoying speaking cadence than you. That's pretty good. I do talk too fast.
I will say, so that was from 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and read some early reviews, obviously looking for these 1 stars. And it was a very common theme for people like, hey, slow down. And in the YouTube comments early on, hey, slow down.
Yeah.
Hey, slow down. I do remember you used to wring your hands.
Uh-huh.
When we first started, you would be over there, I'd be talking, and you'd be doing this thing with your hands. And I'm like, it's making me nervous to watch you wring your hands. You've come a long way in said hand wringing. I don't think I've seen you do it in probably a couple years now.
You're right. Yeah. I remember I used to do that all the time too. It was a nervous tick.
I was like, dude, stop. Please stop.
This one's from L. McCoy. Might be LaShawn. First time listening because I like draft content and theirs was good. Their take on the CFB expansion is why I gave 1 star. Short-sighted and very narrow in view for supposed lovers of the sport of college football. This is your fault.
Oh, yeah. I said I didn't want to expand.
Yeah.
1 star.
Go listen to Clap or Move the Sticks and let me hear your grievances. That was lame. I didn't like that.
Move the Sticks to even talk about college football expansion?
I don't know.
They talked about the draft.
This is from Dr. Air York. Dudes tell a story about making a blunder and then launch into a story glorifying driving drunk, laughing at it, like what it's solid content, but the PFF smugness really is systemic. I will say I think I take some of my dad's DUI stories a little too lighthearted. I think it's comedic relief for me, but I've had multiple people reach out and say, hey, man, it's not that funny. I agree.
We'll have to keep from crying.
Yeah. This is from Wade Cornelius. Worst pod ever. The hosts bring absolutely terrible takes and swear unnecessarily. That's true. Could be the worst pod ever. I love the
There it
second
is.
worst pod ever. That's good. It is the worst pod ever.
The final 1 star.
Well, that's why we're quitting, actually. I'm getting fired from PFF because this is the worst pod ever.
Well, Austin's really been sugarcoating it. He's actually has no job lined up, and this is it.
Is there any chance you guys can help me out?
I feel like that's pretty good for almost 350 episodes for those to only be the 1 stars. I feel like that's a pretty good ratio.
Absolutely.
I mean, we want to go see some other PFF podcast reviews.
Quinn, you haven't said anything. Give us your final remarks here.
Yeah, so I was thinking about like what I was gonna say for this because like obviously I just said like it's been almost 350 episodes and it's very simple for me. Like this is the best project I've ever worked on professionally. Like this, I mean, there's not really much to say. Like, and I've had, not to, suck my own dick too much, but like I've had the opportunity to like work on some pretty cool projects with some, pretty cool people and stuff like that. But like this one, like far and away takes the cake. And like I legitimately enjoy coming in and doing it. And it's gonna suck not being able to do so anymore. But yeah, like to Mike's point earlier, I don't think this is the last that you'll see of us. So, keep everybody that's been following along, keep following along because we'll do some more stuff. This isn't the last hurrah.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Definitely follow along Mike and Quinn as they remain at PFF and continue to great content.
I think that was the biggest thing that I would like to say as a parting shot, parting take, that there are a lot of parts, I love my job wholesale, but there are still parts of it that are work. Yeah, football is great, but like some parts of what I do still feel like work. Coming in, doing 2-for-1 drafts, doing tailgate with you, Quinn. It never felt like work. It was, I always looked forward to it. I always came in wanting to do this. Never came in being like, oh, I got to prep for this. No, like this was what I look forward to every single week. So I'm going to miss it.
Couldn't agree more with all that's been said, man. This has been such a cool part of my journey at PFF, getting to know you more, working with you more, learning to not wring my hands, learning to slow down my speech and all that stuff. All the stories that we had too, we didn't bring these up on like the East-West Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, the Scouting Combine, the Super Bowl. It was insane, man. We've done a lot of really, really fun, cool shit that I think a lot of people on the planet wish they could do. The tailgate tour, those trips on the Senior Bowl and the East-West Shrine. Remember I was doing pass sets against Anthony Tresh in the hotel. Like we've done a lot of fun things. I think a lot of that's because of the energy that this podcast needed, man. It's just what the Master Gators needed.
Yeah, I mean, we started like 4 or 5 podcasts 3 years ago, I believe it was, and this one took off. Not a lot of them did. This one did, and it's sucks that
you brought up the Senior Bowl. Do we have time for one more story?
Yes.
Mike, do you want to tell the story about when you flew to the wrong locale?
Oh fuck, that one was brutal.
Going to the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, this was 2020, right before COVID, and I had this. So my brother was living down in Jackson, Mississippi, and so I'm already like, okay, I'm gonna use that as an excuse to visit my brother because I really don't want to go to Jackson, Mississippi on my own, but I'm so close within driving distance. So I'm like, okay, I'll fly into Mobile with you guys, and then drive back to Jackson for the weekend, and then fly home. I completely fuck up my flights, but don't realize it until I'm at the airport with you guys, and I'm like, I'm not getting on this flight with you. And you're like, what? I'm like, I actually booked a flight to Jackson, Mississippi, and I get in at probably midnight
4 a.m.
in Jackson, Mississippi. I have to figure out how to get a rental car. Thank God I got it in time to actually get one. But then I get to Mobile at probably like 4 or 5 a.m. And I can't get the rental car that I had reserved in my name. So I have to go drop that rental car off, Uber to the hotel, wake up in 3 hours, come back, get the rental car from the airport that's like out in the sticks. And I was miserable that first day at Senior Bowl. But seeing that you booked the wrong flight in the airport was a dick punch.
I felt terrible for you. I felt awful for you. That Senior Bowl was my first Senior Bowl. That's where I met Seth Galina, Michael Kist, some of my favorite people in the industry.
And I get to the room when I got actually in at like 4 a.m. And all of a sudden I crawl in bed thinking it's you. And it's Ryan Smith's in the bed with us. I didn't even know this guy was going to be there.
So Ryan Smith is in the bed, and I didn't know he was going to be there either. And we get into this hotel room. And there's like a little lump in the bed. I'm like, what the fuck is that? It was like, dude, they just give us the wrong hotel room. I started like peek over. I was like, oh shit, it's Ryan Smith.
He popped up, scared the shit out of me.
Dude, I thought
Scared the shit out of us.
Ryan Smith that works on the B2B side here at PFF doing, working with teams and agents and all that stuff. And I was like, I guess I forgot that he was going to be a part of our hotels, who was hooking up the hotels at the PFF at the time. But that was a scary, scary sight. Walking into a hotel room that you think is yours and someone else is there is never cool. Yeah. Never cool. It was the only time it's ever happened to me. And I feel like we didn't bring up the combines enough in the Super Bowl. I mean, all that stuff was so fun, though. The scouting combine this past year was insane, going out as late as we did. Super Bowl was a lot of fun, too. Talked to Chuck Liddell. East West Shrine in Vegas was awesome. But I don't know, man. We can tell stories forever.
There is one combine one. This was probably 2017. We throw a party every year at St. Elmo's. It might have been 2018. It was 2017. And I wasn't like told to come. Like I was like, this was only when it was like a tight knit. It was only B2B. It was only people that like were actually interacting with teams. But I knew we threw this party every year because I'd gone the year before when we kind of it was open for everybody, but then we kind of scaled it back and said, Joan, just B2B side. And so content wasn't sending one out there. But my brother lived in Indianapolis. And so I'm like, I'm fucking showing up. Yeah. Like, I don't care. I'm one person. If I show up and they tell me to leave, that's the worst look for PFF. And so I just show up out of the blue, and Neil, like, they were not happy that I showed up. But it was an all-you-could-drink, all-you-could-eat.
It is every year.
At St. Elmo's. PFF's throwing it. I'm fucking showing up. So I just showed up.
I have to tell a handful of stories from those parties because those parties are absolutely incredible. The first one I went to, I think, was the 2020. No, I went to the 2019 one as well. I went to 2019, had a good time, met a lot of people, whatever. Yeah. 2020 was the first time I really sent it at that party. This was obviously a month before we knew COVID was going to impact all our entire lives. But I'm getting toasty strudeled, and Steve Smith Sr. is there. Yeah. Steve Smith Sr. is such a passionate dude and is so fun to talk to. But he's talking to me about, you guys at PFF need to start tracking explosive plays for defense. We call them like havoc plays or something like that, where it's like a big turnover, a sack by a certain amount of yards. Yeah. He was explaining a lot of things. And then George Chahuri comes up and he's like, yeah, you're just kind of explaining EPA. And Steve Smith's like, no, dude, I'm not talking about EPA. I'm talking about havoc plays. And then I'm like, I know what George is trying to say, but I am saying like, yeah, George, I don't know what you're getting at. I'm bigger on the havoc plays. And George is pissed that I'm siding with Steve Smith. That was also when Anthony Tresh got just absolutely blasted off of gin and tonics. He ends up going into Prime, which is the bar that everyone goes to, the ones we've talked about on this podcast before, that stays open until like 6 a.m. It's just an insane bar experience. But he's leaving, and one of the media members, it's Dan Graziano, and he's leaving, and he accidentally bumps into Dan Graziano. Anthony Tresh does. And he's like, sorry, Dan, we're all a little toasty. And he says, no, buddy, we're not. Or some shit like that. And then Anthony Tresh ends up falling in the snow on the way back. That was surreal. The combine this past year, we got toasty. It was not that significant, though. We did not light it up like we did in 2020. 2020 was a freaking movie, dude. Those trips every single time are such a good time, getting people together and all that shit. But dude, we could tell stories forever. I think that just goes to show what this pod is, man. I'm gonna miss doing this together. We obviously still live together. I don't think that's gonna change anytime soon. But fuck, dude, is this it? Mike Quinn, Mike Renner, Austin Gayle, Tailgate.
Master Gators.